time. First, thanks everyone. Thanks Jeremy to be with us. Is a great pleasure. Thanks to the Right Honourable John Hayes, and thanks to the Ambassador Qirko and the Baroness Nicholson and Baroness and Lord Rami Ranger. In particular, also thanks to the Cass Business School, Paul Palmer, because we are, as I said, we are here because the Cass Business School helped to set up Esharelife. In particular, you, Paul, did a great job. And thanks, of course, to George and Simon and all of you, because without this opportunity, without this, the fact that you share your time with us, what we are going to introduce, what we are going to show you, it will not possible without your support. And that is really what we wanted, just to take less than 40 minutes of your time, but to show you now straight away the experience that we have been able to share with you, what we have built in Africa, thanks to the last fundraiser. And in particular, I just wanted to introduce an old friend of mine, Antonino. That is 25 years that we know each other. As always said, I know Antonino before my wife, so it's a long time ago, half of my life. And also thanks to John and Ramada because they are going to introduce their experience. And then Antonino, please.
So I start. I read. I apologize for my poor English. Good evening, everyone. I'm Antonino Masuri, and since 2007, I've been working for AVSI NGO in Kenya, from where I'm speaking to you. First of all, I want to thank Maurizio Bragagni and all the friends of Esharelife for the precious opportunity offered me to speak, and for the great help that you give to so many needy children and their families in Kenya, especially in this moment. I would like to share with you the experience in Kenya during the COVID-19 pandemic and all that we have been able to do thanks to your support. Currently in Kenya, there are 5,000 cases with 130 deaths and 1,800 people ill. In the major cities, there is a lockdown and a curfew from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. Gathering is prohibited. After the first case in Kenya team met immediately to understand what to do. From now on, all our educators and missionaries who collaborate with us and the staff in the Dadaab refugee camp at the border of Somalia are available on the phone every day for any need. In AVSI offices, there is always someone for emergencies and especially for donations and so on. To help needy families, we are helping needy families by sending funds through mobile phones. Here we call this system M-Pesa. The social workers assist the elders and the weakest in the slums. After the closure of our schools, we organize the lessons via internet, radio, and television. We distribute notebooks, food, clothes, soap, and kits for the elderly, the disabled, and the poorest family, especially in the remote places. We donate personal hygiene goods, such as sanitary pads, to many teenagers. One of the activities for the DSP parents that we're implementing is to teach them to be self-sustainable. We train them how to start a small income-generating activity to meet their emerging needs. Thanks to the trainings in these years, many women started producing detergents, and that was very crucial. And now they started to produce masks with beautiful fabrics and, for sure, a filter inside. Our partners dispensary started producing sanitizers. We distributed for this occasion a leaflet with the guidelines and a message of hope from Romana, because our aim is to work together, first of all, and without hope, we don't go anywhere. Here, in this moment, is very clear. We want to tell children and families that they are not alone facing this scary pandemic. For years, we did sensitization courses on the value of hygiene in schools. It was very nice to see how our children show others that they already know how to, what is needed to avoid contagion. And I was very impressed from a particular detail. When the Ministry of Health said, Wash your hands with water or ashes. I remember my grandmother for this. The main problem is what we really don't know about the pandemic is going on. Here there are not many equipped in hospitals and trained health workers like in England. I asked one of our kids what do the people in the slums say about COVID-19, just to understand. He replied, the people think, this is a disease for Muzungu, means white people, because here we pray a lot. This is not for us. But I say the reality is not exactly this. And all the children hardly understand how to keep the distance between people. It was not easy. Being able to play with their friends outdoor and so on. I was touched when the educators reported that the children miss our schools very much because they are safe and clean places. The places built for them where they can live their childhood without being exploited in jobs of all kinds. They learn to express themselves, understand their value. Yesterday was really a beautiful surprise. A principal of Little Prince wrote to me that the children going for the homework ask about me. They ask when they would see me again, not only for me, but for the sweets, Italian sweets too that I carry every time, to be sincere. The big problem on how to make a real quarantine in the slums, where they are piled up in shacks made of scrap iron, or in the countryside where they live in small huts made of dry cow dungs. In these homes, there is no fridge. And therefore parents every day have to go around looking for a casual jobs to bring something to eat for their children at home. The year started very well here in Kenya for us with many missions, events, and we planned various events. All were cancelled. What scared me, to be sincere, most was when the international flights stopped, because I thought if there are riots, we can flee to Europe. So this is the reality. These 3 months, which are not easy, pass quickly. Our work is mainly made of meetings with educators, the periodic visit to the home and the schools, going to the villages to see how the things are going on and so on. Doing this work from home by phone, computer, internet only has not been easy. Doing this work because faces daily challenges, we learn to be creative by looking for new solutions. The pandemic is the latest among many existing problems, without counting the invasion of thousands of locusts that are destroying crops and the floods that have caused 250 deaths and hundreds of displaced people. In the midst of many challenges, it moved me to see so many signs of solidarity. Sorry. We receive messages and help from many parts of the world, an incredible surprise. Esharelife sent us a large donation, which helped other needy children and their families. We are really grateful. Was the fast help. An Italian restaurant, just to give you an example, in Nairobi has decided to donate part of the incomes to our poor. And these are many situations. Many people write to me, how is possible to have hope in this situation? For me, this situation is really a great mystery because it reminds me what is essential, the value of the life, and not take many things for granted. It is possible to have hope because it is in our heart by nature. We remain in Kenya for a story that began together, for a great friendship made up of challenges, problems that are our daily bread, but with many fruits. Thanks to Esharelife, we want to help our people in the deep desire to have a friendship that supports the desire that we have for beauty and justice and to live the real intensely. We are greater than the virus. Thank you.
Thanks. Now is Romana that is going to share your experience.
Okay.
I introduce Romana. I have the great honor. So Romana Koech is the country representative of AVSI in Kenya, is one of my best friends, an extraordinary woman with 6 children, but many more children of the slums consider her their mother. Romana has more than 20 years of experience in the field. She decided to work in the social sector after the genocide of Rwanda, she will share with us, which gave rise to her great desire to do something useful for a world more human and just. I leave the floor to Romana Koech.
Thank you very much, Mazu. So good evening, everyone. Thank you, our friends from Esharelife, for putting together this great opportunity to speak to you, great people from the names and the titles. I'm sure I've never addressed so many people with such titles, coming also from working in the slum of Kibera. So as Masu said, I'm currently the country director of AVSI Kenya, having been a social worker out of the university 23 years ago. So as soon as I finished the university, I started working for a smaller NGO. And then in '94, when the war broke out in Rwanda, I was really moved as to what can make humanity, what can make a neighbor that you've known all your life take a machete and kill the neighbors that they've always known. What can make a fully grown man kill a child? So I was really moved by these things, and I was inspired that I want to work for this. I want to be able to prevent in the future what happened in Rwanda. And so I decided I wanted to volunteer to go to Rwanda even at that time, but of course I was not able because I did not have the credentials that most organizations were working. At that time I was staying with my brother here in Nairobi, and there was an organization very close to the house that they were taking food and personnel to Rwanda, but when I went there, I understood that they were only taking the doctors. My background is a social scientist, so for sure, no possibility. So at that point, I asked my family if they could help me to be able to work in the humanitarian sector. So true to it, I was able to do another degree for development studies. And since then, I met AVSI, and I worked for AVSI for 23 years, more or less. So I started in Kibera as a social worker, working for children, for paying for school fees, visiting the children, doing counseling, accompanying children that were sick, families that were distressed. So later on, I became a project officer, project manager, and from January this year, I'm now the country director of AVSI. So what really kept me in AVSI all these years, first and foremost, is the methodology that AVSI employs. Because this methodology is so close to what help people to be the one that directs their own life, like we say in AVSI, to be the protagonist of their own life, to be the one that decide for themselves. So this methodology is so embedded in the work of AVSI, and I see it also as something that is very close to humanity. It's not something outside that you bring, but it's something that you can build from the person, to the extent that each person that we are serving in Kibera, in the peripheries of Kenya, in the arid and semi-arid areas, can really be able to say, when I met AVSI, I started to make the journey of development. And this is really what attracts me to work in AVSI. In these years that I've been working in AVSI, I've seen children, I've seen families move out of poverty, move out of Kibera, children studying, going to college, going to the university, finding jobs, and moving their entire families out of the informal settlement, more so out of Kibera. That you know very well, Kibera is one of the largest slums in Kenya and probably in Africa, and very, very, very poor. So we can repeat stories of children. John Collins, that is also in this forum, Antonino, Masuri, and other people that work for AVSI can repeat stories child by child that we know that they've moved from point A to point B, and now they are able to look after their families. In AVSI staff, we have 3 former assisted children of AVSI, in quotes, that before they were living in Kibera, they were living in other poor areas, and they studied right all the way to the university, and currently they are colleagues, they are working with us. And this is very important because we can see also the way in which they approach the subject matter, the people in front of them, because they know the journey they've made, and this is also quite very, very important. Not only that, these former beneficiaries of AVSI, they are also, manager, accountant, social workers, and you can always see from the way they treat the people that they are serving of the gratefulness of where they've come. And without prejudice, I'm sure even Collins and Mazu can bear me witness that from the way they are working is coming from exactly what the past people that assisted them in AVSI gave to them. So, yeah, so the other experience that I have is that when I came aboard AVSI, we were, I think at that time there were only 4 people working for AVSI, and currently we are more than 77 permanent staff and more than 500 temporary trainers, community health workers, and also the projects have also grown from only education now to energy sector, to education in emergency, where we are in Dadaab, where they are the refugees from Somalia. We are currently also working in agribusiness, and the field is open because what you always see, so long as there are needs out there and the hearts that are willing to help, I think AVSI will always be there. And to see also the help that is coming from Esharelife and the possibility to put something like this together is really showing that there is possibility to help the suffering humanity because there are people willing to do it. And for this, I'm really grateful to be able to participate in this forum.
Thank you, Romana. Thank you. Antonino, Colin is going to tell us something before I'm going to pass the word, the floor to our guest of honor. Antonino.
Thank you. I'll give a small intro. Thank you, Romana, for the beautiful things, but she's really great. About Collins Kangogo is the program manager of AVSI. He has many years of experience in the field and is following all the project connected with distance support in Kenya. He invites all the implementing partners, educators, and local organizations to deepen their action towards the realization of the value of our beneficiaries. In his work, always Kangogo seeks to readdress this essential component by making a journey of self-realization for each child, household, and community. I leave the floor to John Collins Kangogo. Thank you.
Thank you, Masuri, for the introduction. Thank you so much, Esharelife, for the invitation. And thank you all for participating. Like Romana, I kind of starstruck by the presence of all these invited guests. For me, is good. I think in some years back, I said to myself, if I found an opportunity to speak in a big crowd, I will try to see how I can make my presentation funny. But now I don't know if I'm going to be enough funny to be able to present what I really feel about the experience of my life. Before coming to AVSI, I was able to visit Uganda, to visit DR Congo, and I could see a lot of challenges in those countries. And always my inspiration before was always to bring justice to the people. But I could see the struggle and all the struggle the people will go through in these countries. But I was happy for the opportunity I received in AVSI because I joined AVSI 12 years ago. And by joining AVSI, I have to say this, with all the experience I had, it would have been easy for me to be able to start working in maybe a managerial position. But I'm very happy for the fact that I was given the opportunity to work directly with the beneficiaries, to interact directly with the beneficiary as an educator, social worker. And I'm happy because through this experience, I was able to learn. First from Romana was just shocked because at that moment she was the one directing and supervising our work. And then there was Mazu with the team who will always indicate and show us actually what we as educators will be able to transmit. But all this bringing our experiences as individuals through the situation. Now, to say this, what have I learned over the period? In our day-to-day interaction with the individuals, I'm happy and I'm struck by the fact that individuals come to us really appreciating what we do, but by appreciating, they say they trust our work, they trust the manner in which we work, they trust and they believe in the way we look upon the reality and the value that we have attached on each individual. And I insist on the fact that the value attached on each individual. As Mazu has just said, this is one thing that we developed over the years, and this is very, for me, has been important. I'm not complaining that the fact that they really are impressed by the fact we do this, but it's something that has developed over the years. And when we talk about each experience of each child, each person, we can talk about their experience. It comes from the fact that we have attached a value in each individual. The fact that the progress of an individual is paramount and more paramount to the one of the community sometimes looks like a paradox, but it's a worthy paradox. Not that it's a contradictory, but at times we could be lost in the aspect of the fact that the success of the community has been achieved. But what's about the individual? So it reminds us of the fact that the expansive success can only be achieved through a success of each unit, each person that contributes to the community. I find satisfaction, my colleagues and all the colleagues that we work together, we find satisfaction in the success of each individual that we've been able to follow. It makes us happy and proud. But it doesn't mean that the fact we don't have failures. And these failures, this lack of success in individuals sadden us. They make us sad. We ask ourselves, where do we not work? Is the aspect that comes from the fact of each individual that we've journeyed with. I'll say this, the sadness and the success, okay, the joy and the sadness are all in the same energy level. It reminds us that the value of each individual is inherent in them. A child who is coming from the nomadic areas of Baringo, a boy coming from the slums of Kibera, or the informal settlements in Nairobi, that girl coming from the refugee camp of Dadaab, or the refugees, each one of them desire to see a gaze that gives them hope. As I've seen, I'm impressed from this passion that we have towards the development of individual. I'm looking at the situation of the Baringo. In Baringo, there are several girls whose life education has been altered because they have to undergo the female genital mutilation. They are forced to be married early, some of them as early as at the age of 10. Last year we went to Baringo, to East Pokot, and on the way we met with a girl who was 12 years, and one of the missionary accompanying this girl informed her that this girl had been asked to come out of school because her parents said she was ready to be married. She was in class 5 at the age of 11 years. They are forced to be married. They don't speak for themselves. And this creates the abuse of the girls. The girls are worried about their future. And just to give you what could be a statistics or what could be an individual, in this community, 6 out of 10 girls will be married before the age of 13 years. And likely 1 in 20 of these girls will complete secondary school, a formal education. This is sad. It's sad because in this era and this period, everyone should have received the rights of education. I'm happy because of the support that we receive from friends, including Esharelife, that we've been able to achieve support for individuals, girls and boys, to be able, because this community really desires the support. The literacy level for this community is very bad. The community has a literacy level of 22%. And for the girls, it's even worse because it's at 10 to 12%. I am happy that we have this desire to help this community to value the education, not only for the girls, but all the children, to understand that education can bring an end to the different vicious circles of underdevelopment, violence, poverty. Look at a girl who is married at 13. What does she do? She has always to depend on her mother or the mother-in-law at 13, the burden. I struck by the group also in Dadaab, the refugees, the women from some of them, the Somali community, the women from when we share with the colleagues from Dadaab, sometimes one of the things that always pain me is the fact that the women have admitted to be subjected to violence. Why? Because the cultural aspect does not value the aspect of the woman. Sometimes it's difficult to change the cultural values, the cultural aspect. The dialogue is continuing. But what can we do for these women? Give them the opportunity to do something, to be able to join the others, to be able to have something on their own, not completely solely dependent on their husband for anything. So an economic empowerment, giving them the voice to speak among themselves, to work together among themselves. This is something beautiful for these women. And I'm happy because all this continue to be a desire for us. It continues to be a desire for us, working with other partners and all the individuals who are interested to support the community of the refugees. It's already difficult that you are a refugee in a different country, but it's even worse when, as a woman, your rights cannot be expressed. A girl who is at the age of 10, 11 has to drop out of school because she has to be prepared for marriage. It's sad, but it's the reality that we have to face each day. It's that one girl that I have to work for that girl. I want to finish by saying this. As Panjali says, when you're inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Thank you.
Thanks, John, for your great remark and experience. I have to tell you that after your story, I'm very proud to be British in the fact that this country have destroyed and conquered the slavery as the first country in the world. I'm sure that we are going to help as we can also to combat this new slavery. I was very moved by what you said, co-move, as I said, and I'm more co-moved to introduce the Right Honorable Jeremy Hunt, that is always a friend, Jeremy, that has accepted to share with us and help also to sponsor this event, because with your presence and the presence of other friends that are going to talk after him, they help us to achieve what we want, to raise and support money for you. And the other very important things that I want to make clear is that all the money that we have collected during the the Christmas event has been integrally sent to AVSI for combating and helping children and education, in particular children and girls. As you can understand, as a father of 4, for me is a personal commitment in that. Jeremy, thank you again.
Thank you, Maurizio, and it's a privilege to be part of this fantastic webinar. And I suppose I remembered that lovely saying by Mark Twain. He once said, "Do the right thing. It will please your friends and astonish your enemies." And it's a good motto for politicians. But actually what we've heard this afternoon is a lot of people who have been doing the right thing in their lives. John Collins, Romana, Antonino, and you know, we are just full of admiration for the work you're doing. I remember the first time I visited Kibera in Kenya. I was walking through the middle of it with a nun who was showing me to some of the homes that people were living in, and she found a couple of children who were eating a piece of coal, and she stopped and she said, "Where's your mother?" And she found the mother, and she scolded this mother for giving her children coal to eat. But the situation was absolutely desperate. And I remember the piles of rubbish everywhere, and the public toilets that you had to pay to use. There was one toilet for every 200 people. So, you know, John Collins and Romana and Antonino, you are really working in one of the most challenged slums in Africa, but really anywhere in the world. And it's incredibly impressive and humbling what you're doing. And the thing I take away from what I hear is this strong message that what you're trying to do with the people you help is to break a relationship of dependency and turn them into independent people who can stand on their own 2 feet. And that is really the thing that we have to bear in mind from the West, where aid has gone wrong so much in the past because it's created dependency and stopped people reaching their human potential because they're not able to function independently. And of course, there's no better way to make people independent and help them stand on their own 2 feet than a good education. And that's what George knows about better than anyone, but obviously it's what the schools that are being supported by AVSI are doing so well. And so I really want to thank you for your great inspiration. And also I want to thank you, Maurizio, for setting up Esharelife to support great organizations like AVSI, because you know what you're doing, your philanthropy, I think is a reminder of our common humanity, and it's the easiest thing in the world for people who have been successful and had to fight very hard to build up a business, as you've done with Tratos, then just to relax and enjoy their life. But you've chosen a much harder path in setting up a charity that helps many other charities. And I think we're seeing just how amazing the support is that you're giving to AVSI in Kenya. So I want to thank you for your great example, and indeed the example that you've been giving throughout the pandemic, and the way you've been, you went back to San Marino and the amazing things that you've been doing there. All I really want to say is that for me, this is very much the vision I have as to the kind of human beings that we should all aspire to be. Either we can be out at the sharp end on the front line like John Collins and Romana and Antonino are doing every single day, and walking through the cluttered, crowded streets of Kibera, helping some of the poorest people on the planet. Or we can be the people behind the scenes who are supporting their great work and helping them to do what they do by funding it. But I think the thing we can't do is step back and do absolutely nothing, because there's so much division at the moment. I heard China being discussed earlier, and there are many, many differences we have with China, but the last thing the world wants now is a new Cold War between China and the United States. We need to do everything we can to bring the countries of the world together. So I'll just leave you, Maurizio, with my favorite saying from an American thinker who many of you will know called Margaret Mead, with a saying that many of you will have heard of. She said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks a lot for inspiring and for your words. As always, you have been a great inspiration to all of us. Ambassador of Albania, Qirko. I know, Qirko?
Yes. Yes, dear Maurizio, dear friends, it's my third year that I'm participating in this initiative, and I feel really delighted for the achievement and the positive impact that your contribution are having in Kenya. I would like to stress that in the last months, we have seen hundreds of thousands of people in the streets of Europe and America with the slogan, Black Lives Matter. I think that within this slogan, there is a great demand for respect for people of different color, different ethnicity, and different religion. And to achieve that, education of these people is the key factor, something that Esharelife is doing so successfully in the last years in Kenya. What are you doing in Kenya? Remind me of the great quote saying 1,000 times by a great Albanian woman, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, during her work to help the poor of the poorest in Calcutta. She used to say, better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. And now 2 words for my friend Maurizio, who has been the engine of this initiative. I know that in your family business in Italy, some workers are the 3rd or even 4th generation working in the same business. And there is a reason for it. It seems that humanity is in your DNA. I know that you are the founder of Esharelife and successful businessman in UK. I know that you are a perfect model of a father and a husband. And I know that you never made compromises in the values that you believe. For all of that, I'm proud to be your friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I hope to be 1 centimeter of what you said, and to follow the great example that you always have given to me. Baroness Emma Nicholson.
Yes, hello, hello, hello. Hello. Have you got me?
Yes,
No.
we got. You should
Good.
be.
Good. Thank you very much for organizing all of this. It's absolutely enthralling. And the most brilliant expose of the fantastic work that's going on. I'm particularly grateful to Jeremy for bringing his knowledge in. I haven't heard him speak on this before, and it was very stirring and exciting and emotive, and also very knowledgeable. So all in all, I think that was a very happy 45 minutes so far. And thank you too for organizing us and bringing us all together again. It's a wonderful organization that is working on the ground. And I think we're very lucky to learn about it in this way. Hopefully, not too far away, some of us might actually even be able to visit, which would be rather exciting.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks a lot for your kind words and remark. My Lord Rami Ranger, great friend and example of all of us, from nothing to everything. You have been a great example for a lot of people and also to me. Rami.
Maurizio, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you for putting this subject under focus. After listening to these emotional speeches from all these speakers, especially from Africa, really, if they don't move anyone, nothing will. And you know my background, that I also started my life in a refugee camp. And because we lost everything during the partition of India, including my father who was assassinated, so we came. and we survived at the mercy of so many generous people like you, who never forget that they have a duty to the humanity at large. And you know, you have a great role model, Baroness Nicholson, who has done lots and lots of work in Iraq, Yazidi young people who have suffered enormously in the hand of religious fanatics. So all this, what you've done, Jeremy Hunt has really contributed a lot to bring a galaxy of all those people, including High Commissioner from Italy, speaks volumes of your standing and your passion for what you believe in. And you know, we are here temporary, but our legacy will be left behind for the next generation. So I congratulate you and I support you in your endeavor to make a difference. And if we can make a difference in a any small way, as you know, I'm the fellow of the Princess Trust, and I spend a lot of time mentoring youth because, you know, everything is possible. We live in a great country. In this country, we have law against discrimination. Anyone can become anything if they work hard, show loyalty and commitment. So I think what you've done, bringing so many important people collective, including the Chancellor from Bolton University, is amazing. So I congratulate you and I thank you for making me part of the journey, and whatever I can do, I will do. Thank you.
Thanks, my lord. Professor Paul Palmer from the Cass Business School.
Well, you always amaze me, Maurizio. Over the years I've got to know you, the way you're able to sort of, I think there's a word called social capital. And social capital, I think, is your middle name in every sense of the word. I was taken by a couple of comments, and I'd like to go back to Lord Ranger's comment straight away when he talks about mentoring, because I have been thinking now that I've had a bit more time, like many of us at home, and I have been thinking that when we all meet back together, when you come over to the business school, and hopefully Paolo, of course, a fellow Italian, will be fully entrenched as dean by then, that we should look at perhaps two ways that the business school can assist the charity in a much more practical way. And picking up on Lord Ranger's comment, the mentoring, I think, is incredibly important. Now, as you know, Cass has set up a mentoring scheme whereby our undergraduate third years are now doing a course in coaching and mentoring, working with schools in inner London that traditionally do not send their children to university or to good universities. And I'm just wondering if we can somehow put together a scheme where we can use maybe undergraduates or graduates to maybe support the charity in some way, whether that's actually, so that's one idea that I think we should explore. And then the second one is that one was very much taken with John and Romana's comments. It's always moving when people, to use that expression, the front line, exchange with you. But I was taken by Jeremy Hunt's comment about being in the back office. And I mean, my life has always been in the back office in that sense, but that's not to say, I mean, the Association of Business People around you know that great business ideas are supported by having an effective back office. And I'm just wondering if we can do something in relation to NGO management course that we run at Cass to be able to support maybe Romana or John in some way to improve their management skills. So I'm just going to leave that with you, and then when we do hopefully meet again, not too long, we can perhaps explore those options together.
Thanks, Professor. Professor John Holmes, another great example. And we are very close to the conclusion. So I just want to let you know that we are very keen on time and really appreciate everything. But Professor George Holmes, Vice Chancellor of Bolton University, that I'm an alumni of Cass Business School, but also an alumni of the Bolton University. Thanks for your support.
Yeah, Your Excellency, Maurizio, and honoured guests, thank you. Thank you. It's been a wonderful opportunity, as always, to meet friends, and never can there have been a more important time than now in the international and the national context for the work that Esharelife is doing, that we're proud to support at Bolton. As you know, my own university in Bolton in Greater Manchester is the most socially inclusive university in Britain by every metric that you could place on us. And that means that it's very important to us in terms of the mission to ensure that those whose lives are less fortunate in many ways than lots of us, even in this country, are supported as much as they can be. And Maurizio, my gratitude to you on behalf of everybody you help, and the way you've brought people together, as Lord Ranger and others have said, is magnificent. It's great to see Jeremy here tonight supporting, as always. So for me, recognising and conscious of the time, just wanted to pledge our continued support as a university, my individual and personal support. My daughter was in Kenya last year building a school, and is very much personally ambitious in terms of helping this particular project to work. And so anything that we can do to help you, we would like to do. But conscious of the time, can I just say how supportive we are and how delighted we are to be part of such a wonderful, there's the dog barking in the background, a wonderful project.
Thanks, Professor. Thanks again. Right Honorable Sir John Hayes, a great friend, he told me once, we don't believe in a coincidence, we believe in miracle. John, have you seen, there is a miracle. We have brought, thanks to Jeremy and thanks to you and thanks to the Baroness Nicholson, Lord Rangers, we have brought so many people together. John. No, you are mute, John.
How's that?
That's perfect now.
So tonight we heard an incredible story. It is miraculous, as you described it, Maurizio, and it reminded me of the greatest Conservative Prime Minister, maybe one of the greatest Prime Ministers, Benjamin Disraeli. Disraeli said that power has but one duty, the welfare of the people. And what we've heard about in these presentations is not merely welfare in terms of the relief of want and need, although we have heard about that, but also the key closely related objective of once people have escaped from want, the journey they then travel towards opportunity, the capacity building that we heard about from the front line in Africa, from Antonino and from Arno and John, and emphasized by Jeremy and his contribution. Now, when I spoke of Disraeli, I talked about powering have a duty, and Lord Ranger spoke about our duty. You've just mentioned the burning need for those with advantage, as George said, to redistribute that advantage. And that applies here in Britain, but because of our shared humanity across the globe. We have a special duty to identify and then assist those people who don't have the opportunities we have, following the escape from need, to travel that journey to opportunity. Central to that is capacity building, as we've heard time and time again. Building capacity, building capability, challenging all of those things that hold people back from being all they can be. The work that's being done by those we've heard from tonight not only moves our hearts, it opens our minds. And the support you've given, Maurizio, through Esharelife to assist that work is both remarkable and exemplary. So thank you so much for tonight. It's allowed me to see what I knew about through you and others, but I now have a greater understanding of the difference that the exercise of duty can make by building lives through building life chances. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, John. Simon.
So really, I think it's my job just to thank a few people. So much has been said, and I just found it a fascinating discussion, and you know, particularly to hear from Antonino and Romana and John, who are on the front line. One of the things that made me smile, Antonino, is your use of sweets to keep the children happy. And I'm sure they've missed you during this period where you can't travel to see them. But incredible work that AVSI does and Esharelife in supporting the charity. I was looking through the chat whilst we were on this conference, and there's in the chat, if you get time to look, there's, I hope I pronounce her name right, a lady called Mary Shinyanga, who actually was helped by AVSI, now grown up. They helped provide education for her, and she now has 2 children of her own, runs her own business. And during this COVID period, has been able to use the education that she had to educate her own children at home. And there can be no better success of the real practical difference that the charity makes than that. So an incredible stories and lots to listen to. I'd just like to thank a few people, and in no particular order, but first of all, Jeremy Hunt, once again, for giving his time and supporting this. It's very important. So John Hayes, but more importantly, all of the donors, ambassadors and patrons of the charity, people who give their time, give their money, give their support to make sure that Esharelife can pass the money directly to AVSI to do its work. And one thing that I've been touched as an ambassador of the charities, that every single penny of the money that's raised goes directly to do this work. So when we hold events, whether it's a dinner or a function, all of those costs are covered by donors or supporters, and the money itself that's raised on the evenings goes directly to the work, and that's an important part of making sure that we're successful. Also, thanks to the General Consul, His Excellency Marco Vellani, for his patronage, and also we had a message from the Italian Ambassador, His Excellency Raffaele Trombetta, who had hoped to be here, but at last minute some business matters took him away. So lastly, I think enough people have already thanked Maurizio, but what I would say, Maurizio, is you are a real inspiration to all of us. And let's continue to support this important charity and the important work of AVSI. Thank you very much.
Thanks to everyone. Again, thanks a lot. We are perfectly less than an hour. I really would like to say thanks. Your job means a lot. As thanks for the inspiring words for everyone. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Baroness Nicholson. Thanks, Ambassador Qirko. Thanks, Lord Rangers. Thanks, John Hayes. And thanks to everyone. Thanks to our artists that are here represented by Professor Nadeya Kim for their support. And thanks really to everyone. Our members like Domenico Aiello, Vice President, and Meliti, and to everyone that contributed to this great opportunity. Thanks. Thanks, Antonino. Thanks, Colin Terramada. Thanks for your job. Thanks again. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
God bless you.
And you, my dear friend. God bless. Bye.